Howdy folks, good afternoon. So it's that's my town. So it's January 18th, Martin Luther King Day. Happy Martin Luther King Day. It's warmed up. Oh, it's 2022. Forgot that part. So it's warmed up. It's 41 degrees. Yeah, you know, if you're from the higher country, that's a nice summer day. If you're from Southern California like me, you know, it's still effing cold, but, you know, I've done this for a while, so it's gorgeous. It's springtime. You know, the direct sunlight, I get 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours of sunlight during the winter because of that ridge up there. My house is down there. So in another hour or two, I'm going to be in the shade. But I was working from home for a while. I was bringing out the laptop and put on my shorts and t-shirt and just bake in the sun when it was 40 degrees. It was really interesting. Here at 6,000 feet, you got less ozone or less atmosphere filtering that sunlight, so it gets warm. Really does. There's no breeze like it was breezing earlier. But it's really nice. I'm out doing my walk, trying not to be fat. I'm not being very good at that. So, you know, it's kind of neat coming from Southern California. I lived 5 years in New York City for a while. But coming from Southern California, you know, shorts and t-shirt and sandals were my thing. And it was irritating when I moved to New York many years ago to have so many friggin' clothes on. Sure, it's quite an experience. It took me some time getting used to it. You know, multiple layers, earmuffs, scarves, hat. I've acclimated quite a bit. I don't wear nearly as much clothes, even now in my Colorado winters, as I did in New York City. But yeah, I'm walking on the train tracks, trying not to fall down. So if you see me looking down, I'm just protecting my life. So it's an automatic lubricator. There's a giant curve up there, so gotta grease the wheels because they squeal along, create heat, friction, sparks, all that good stuff. Don't want to derail them in my neighborhood. Anyway, geez, so many things to talk about. Yeah, I remember California. You couldn't find wood stoves anywhere, like new ones. You couldn't buy them or anything like that. They were not legal to sell. And a civil engineer friend of mine told me that you couldn't even build a house anymore in California that had a fireplace, or at least a bona fide wood burning one. You know, they were like, it's just illegal. You couldn't do it because the air quality laws. You know, LA was not known as the freshest air in the country in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. My arm's getting tired. I'm switching hands. That's what my other hand said. So, but out here, you know, there's no laws against that. And where I live, I mean, everyone has a wood stove. There's probably 2 people that have an actual furnace, you know, that runs on electricity, and either electric heat or propane heat. At that, there's no town gas. So there's propane tanks in people's yards who have those furnaces. Like myself, you get a 500-gallon tank. You have to have propane delivered so that you can have heat in the wintertime. I have both propane and wood stove, trying to balance out the costs depending on which gets more expensive. So, but you know, part of why I'm doing this is like, it's just fascinating. I mean, I'm not a effing traveler, you know, like a lot of those other blog people, vlog people, and getting between the rails here, it's safer. You know, who travel, I can't do that. You know, this is just about like people who are just interested in what I have to say. But, you know, came from a relatively small town of 400,000 people in Southern California, where if you drive on the road, you can't tell when one city begins and ends. Moved to New York City between 98 and 2003. Yeah, I was there during 9/11. That's for another video. And then back to Pasadena, California. Loved it. Miss it. And then now I'm in rural western Colorado. Might have mentioned my town population. We don't even know. Maybe 60 people? Yeah, there is a census, but there's a lot of people that live up in the hood. The hood? Sorry. Up in the hill. There's roads up there. More so on this side. But they're all completely off the grid. And there's dozens of houses up there. Ranches, really. And it's like you might have a couple neighbors, but likely don't. Pretty neat. It's just neat experiencing these different places, these different things. So, you know, in California, you know, let's say wintertime, yeah, severe power drought out there, you know, despite all the solar things that are going on. You know, say the power goes out in the wintertime, you're not going to die. But out here, Mother Nature's fierce in the Rocky Mountains. If you're not prepared for anything, of any kind of weather, you're going to die. You know, that's just the blatant reality of it. And it could be quite scary. You know, if my power goes out, if I don't have some sort of backup for heat and electricity, you know, we're talking about days before death succumbs me. You know, not to say nobody will help me or I won't have other people come to help or places to go. But that's the reality of it. You know, in a blizzard, when you're driving and if you slip on that ice and you go off the road, you know, I could tell you for, you know, 10 miles down the road, over the next 50 miles, there's no cell coverage. If nobody knows you're down there, in that river there, you know, you're sitting there till April. Really, you know, it's dangerous. And the same thing even in the summer. Yeah, it doesn't get that hot. If the power goes out, people aren't going to die. You know, unless we're having record heat and you live in Grand Junction or something like that. But, you know, if you're a backpacker or a hiker, you know, I mean, it was bad enough in LA. I've come across too many hikers already that just weren't prepared to handle the terrain and trails they were on. Didn't even know what trails they were on. Saved a couple people, you know, gave them proper direction or rise back into civilization. Out here, 6,000 feet, I told you that before, you know, you dehydrate fast. Fortunately, we've got lots of rivers, streams, and creeks and lakes, levees, irrigation canals. There's water. There's water, you know, but if you're not around it, and you run out of food, and you don't know how to protect yourself, Mother Nature's fierce. So, you know, protection from the elements, and the environment, the seasons, all of them you know, are necessary aspects to living out in the wilderness. We're in rural areas to begin with. And it ain't cheap, I'll tell you that much. So there's a little area I like to stop, do some afternoon meditation. And just taking the scenery. Yeah, if I'm jumping around, it's because the snow is uneven here. So, interesting experience. You know, this is like Seinfeld. You know, it's a lot about nothing. But those who are interested and curious about life will find this interesting. You know, if your life is more exciting, enjoy it. But these are just my walking and talking ramblings I like to share, converse with. You know, there's only 60 people in town. I don't talk a lot, so I don't get a lot of talking done. So anyway, that's that. So I had to take a break. Got a little overheated. Yeah, it's possible in the wintertime in the mountains get a little overheated. And it's definitely possible to go blind. So I'm glad I got my sunglasses. One thing I wanted to talk about I thought would be kind of neat. This is more for my other channel. I have another channel on meditation and metaphysics called Your Inner Light. But you know, since I'm not as meditative right now and just out for a walk, it'd be kind of neat to share. You know, one of the things that really helped me kind of change my life was to get more present in the present moment, if that makes sense, and to be more fully embodied, more fully human, and focused and conscious, and you know, have a direct experience of my reality without being so blatantly interrupted by the active mind and the monkey mind, and you know, really came back to myself. If that makes any sense, probably not. Um, you know, at some point I started doing some gold prospecting up in the San Gabriels in Southern California, um, and and so, you know, at the time I was a pretty anxious person, a little arrogant, and just kind of caught up in myself, and really was going up there in the mountains and spending some time in the river there doing some panning. uh, I realized when I got back in the car and started my drive home that I was really relaxed, like more relaxed than I ever have. Nature does that, we know that, but you know, so I started doing this more. I started driving around more up in the mountains and hiking more, and then I started backpacking, which was great. The prospecting kind of fell off. It was just an old vintage hobby I liked to do. But what I recognized, you know, working in a law firm in downtown LA, and commuting with masses of people, and the hustle and bustle of life, you know, I enjoyed my life, but I was really starting to go downhill, you know. Um, Trying to make this work somehow. I didn't bring my tripod 7 miles down the railroad tracks, of course not. But you kind of realize that, you know, we have a kind of a rhythm, you know, and it's like we all are stopwatches and we're ticking at a certain rate, and often that high rate of speed can't quite be very healthy. That rhythm kind of wears us down. And so what happened is I started spending more time up with nature, and I realized Mother Nature has her own internal rhythm, you know, and I realized the more I spent up in the mountains, especially when I went overnight, the person sort of fell away, and I recognized my own internal rhythm, that which is resonant with Mother Nature. And it was a very, very lovely experience. And I started to become much more calm, much more introspective, more present and conscious, and not so much taken over by my thoughts, worries, and emotions like I had before. And you know, if you got a little place of land to go, even if it's just a neighborhood park, I've been to all those places in LA. I know there's still places out there, you know. Just notice the open sky, the sound of the breeze, the warmth of the sun, kind of reorienting yourself with all of that, and just listening. You realize if you listen more, you hear more. And then just kind of feel your pulse. Don't put your hand on your neck or your wrist or anything. Just feel it from inside. Watch your breathing. Both of those will slow down. The mind will retract. It's contracted in focus. It will relax and open up its attentive span or bandwidth, and you'll take in a lot more. And though Mother Nature's rhythm is much, much slower than ours, you become aware of it, and you can see it, and you can feel it, and you can feel that unfolding in yourself even. I realize we don't go out to be in nature. We are nature. And we're not trying to, live life. We are life. We are the essence of the virtues that we are seeking. But we've lost sight because we've become too identified with the mind, And just letting go of the mind brings so much richness into one's life. I was surprised. Oh, my hair's messed up. I was surprised, in studying Buddhism later on in life, that so much of it had to do with the mind. And I realized that's one of our greatest obstacles. It's also one of our greatest tools as well. But, as they say, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. So there's lots to be said about just going to a park and sitting down. And I have been so grateful that I've been given all this. I do not own this, by the way. It's somebody else's, but I use it too. No, this is just the mountains, And if you make a gesture to bring calmness and peace in your life, you'll find that the rest of the universe will conspire with you to make that happen. And life really is yours for the making. It's just about finding your power to do that. So, I don't know, a little park, and I've been to those little parks. They're lovely. And the more you expand, the greater there is in yourself and around you. So take a little time, go out, do your thing. But don't forget to take a little bit of time to sit in silence and meet your real self, your nature. And for doing that, you will never be disappointed. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. Till next time, take care of yourself and each other. Bye for now. So, there are some sheep, and they're both numbered. So, funny story about this. In the fall, farmers would bring their cattle and well, their livestock to lower ground, a different pasture, you know, for temperature and stuff like that, warmer temperature. And I was driving behind, you know, maybe a mile behind when I knew he was up there, and then all of a sudden there was one in the road. It came off the truck somehow, squeezed out. They have blue numbers on their mid back, and now this is their landscape, so they can survive out here. Obviously, they're eating. You know, they're not begging me for kitty cat treats. You know, but I saw one on the road maybe a few weeks ago, and obviously there are two. I only knew there was one, so they found each other. That's awesome, and they seem to be doing fine. Eventually they'll need to be sheared, so I might report that to my local forest ranger and just let them know, and you know, try to see if you can help these guys, because a couple of years down the road they're going to be weighed down quite heavy with a huge coat, and when the summer hits it's going to be hot, so like to help these guys out. So anyway, just an interesting little story. How about that? Nice to have some exotic animals out in the woods with me. So